President Trump has ousted Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and, of course, replaced him with the CIA Director Mike Pompeo.
Well, Trump announced the removal on his Twitter handle. White House officials say this marks a major change to his national security team and delicate negotiations with North Korea. Trump had asked Tillerson to step aside last Friday.
While the embattled top diplomat had to cut short his trip to Africa to return to Washington, Pompeo, who replaces Tillerson at the State Department, will now be succeeded by CIA Deputy Director Gina Haspel, who incidentally will be the first female CIA director in the United States. Well, we're being joined by Cyril Abaku, top researcher here at TVC, senior researcher. Of course, that's what he is right here. Good morning. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Ngozi.
This firing that happened via Twitter, what a way to, tell someone their job is done. What a way. Vintage Donald Trump.
Well, we can call it
Did it come as a surprise to you?
No, it didn't quite come. I think as early as October last year, there were feelers that he was going to lose his job. Although the White House came out and said no, he was secure. In fact, we even knew there was going to be Mike Pompeo who was going to take over from him. For someone like me who
was forced to deny, called a press conference to deny it.
Well, when we say forced to deny, in this era of post-truth, there are a lot of things that are said without. So since I don't have evidence that was forced to deny, but, but the fact is that, and of course, alternative facts. But again, the fact remains that much of the goings on in the White House and around Trump's administration keep on taking a particular turn, and then we report it in a particular way too. But for someone like me, I have invested a bit of my attention in what is really going on around Trump. And when in researching for this discussion, I found out that I think Rex Tillerson's sack might just be one that stands out typically as the kind of replay of what happened between Reagan and Haig in 1982, I think, where as Secretary of State and as President, they had very clear-cut policy, ideological differences. And so, since the American people voted for the President, he had to ease out the Secretary of State, who is an appointee. Now, the fact is that both Donald Trump and Rex Tillerson have openly disagreed on almost everything. You know that if a Secretary of State is speaking, he speaks authoritatively as the voice of the U.S. government. That is one. And number two, he is the face of America's foreign policy anywhere in the world. But let me give one example. When the Arab states, when the Gulf crisis began between the Arab states and Qatar, Trump took the glory that, that it was his visit to Saudi Arabia that led to the action against Qatar. And then Tillerson comes out and criticizes the Arab states. That's a no-no. You know what I mean? It's a no-no. On the issue with Russia, Tillerson has had a very different position from Trump. On the issue with North Korea. And then again, feelers, people who are in the know on these things, a Secretary of State, if you look at it from George Marshall to Henry Kissinger to Condoleezza Rice and even to Hillary Clinton, a Secretary of State is one of the top-notch, closest insiders of the administration. But for a number of reasons, Rex Tillerson had no political background. He had no constituency on Capitol Hill. He had no friends in the White House. He had no political base whatsoever. I think it was Condoleezza Rice that nominated him. So he had no political base anywhere within the active political circles. So somehow he had no background to fall upon.
Not even within his own State Department.
In the State Department, some of these things may be PR stunt, but to cite one particular report, somebody was even saying that, look, the damage that Tillerson has caused at State, at Foggy Bottom, will take a generation to fix. And what is this thing? He got there. Till today, America does not have an ambassador to South Korea. When he got to State Department, he carried out what may be likened to a purge. There are no replacements. As I speak to you, the number of applications that you normally have to State Department, people that want to work at State, has reduced by half. So he made the work even at State a bit difficult. So internally at State, there were issues. And then externally, his rapport with the President and with even what... somehow I think now it comes like he was fired. It was via Twitter and so on. But
he had it coming.
Yes, but looking at the issues as they are, there are differences on policy.
Yeah, differences, absolutely. But Cyril, in the wake of his visit here, Tillerson mentioned quite a number of areas that Nigeria and the U.S. were supposed to, collaborate. For instance, he talked about commercial and investment and a dialogue, free trade agreement, and all of that. Now that Tillerson is no longer, the Secretary of State, what happens to these plans?
It's funny. The way the West, particularly America and the UK, engage with nations in, pardon my use of this term, the third world, differs significantly. What about, so these visits are perfunctory, are ritualistic, because as Secretary of State or as President, you just have to talk, okay? His sister, the one that came before him, Hillary Clinton did the same. Obama did the same thing. So one way or the other, a top-notch, the President is number 1, Secretary of State is number 4. So one way or the other, one of them has to do this talk. It's perfunctory, like I said, but fundamentally, whatever America's engagement will be with Nigeria or even with the whole of Africa, something the ambassadors and high commissions can easily take care of. What he came to do in Abuja was not his own personal philosophy for Nigeria. It was basically the position of the American government, which... So his being out of there would not really affect things.
Is Donald Trump coming into his own? Is he gaining a whole lot of confidence? Because according to him, he's getting closer to the kind of cabinet he wants, and it's going to happen really soon with more actions coming, meaning that more heads are on the block.
Well, whatever Trump wants to pursue, I think he needs to also send out a clear message that his cabinet or his inner circle is stable. How many directors of communication has he had and fired? Yeah. Hope Hicks, Scaramucci, and the number of them.
Way too many.
I mean,
over 40 something people have actually left his government in how many months? And
if you read the reports coming in now, even I think the next person that's likely to fall is his national security advisor.
Yeah.
Is likely to go, and quite a number of them. For me, I think that, I cannot sit down and particularly endorse a situation where a leader has all loyalists around him. He can't have that. Even
how does that affect democracy if you have yes people all around you, people who just toe your line,
he doesn't want
whatever you
anybody
say
in the room that disagrees with him.
I will liken it to
that isn't democracy.
No. I will look at it as a leadership issue. Democracy. I mean, there is the issue of parties and opposition opinion. But as Republicans, there are certain core fundamentals that we should all agree upon. Yeah. Okay, and we can differ within the ambit of our Republican worldview. For instance, George Bush and Ronald Reagan, 1981 and 17, I think, disagreed on abortion. George Bush was soft on abortion. Reagan said he didn't want abortion, and the Republican Party said we give you the ticket. So you can have such differences. Yeah. Perhaps situationally, what do we do? But coming back to the Trump issue, is the fact that Mike Pompeo differs with him on Russia to an extent. Pompeo says that Russia didn't interfere in the elections, but says that Russia is the biggest security threat America has today. Trump says, you know what, we need Russia to deal with terrorism. Pompeo disagrees on that.
Don't criticize Russia.
There is no way you can have people who agree with you from beginning to the end. But the fact is, how much are you willing to tolerate, and how much? For me, I think that the quality of leadership should be a monocolor does not do anything. You need, people
multicolored.
who wants in a while differ with you. So I don't know how much tolerance Trump is bringing to the table, but I think that as president of the United States of America, because you have a variety of interests to deal with, you also need to deal with both internally and externally. You also need to be able to tolerate as many shares of opinion as possible and come up with policies and positions that will be able to keep. You are Republican president.
Both sides of the view.
Because you are not president of your party or of your family or of your friends. You are president of the United States of America.
Okay, so how does this exit of Tillerson, of course, ends 31st of March? How does this exit, how will it affect North Korea talks?
Now, I'll say by extension, America's foreign policy, general foreign policy, talking about the Gulf crisis, talking about Russia, talking about North Korea. I think Donald Trump has his script written out, whether it is by impulse or it is by only God knows what, his pugnacious pronouncements on Twitter and so on. I think he wants people who just tend to think alike. If you look at the way Pompeo has agreed with Trump on a number of...
Yeah, because he says they agree on most everything.
Imagine...
And you wonder if this honeymoon will last.
Because you just imagine the fact that a conspiracy theorist came out to say that the hacks of the Democratic Party Secretariat and so on was an insider job and was not a Russian job. And Donald Trump told the CIA director, Mike Pompeo, and said, go and meet with this conspiracy theorist and have a chat with him. And he went. So clearly, American foreign policy is now going to be whatever Donald Trump thinks. Whether it is written down in a book somewhere, or it's something that comes up and says...
Cyril, there's no time anymore. But just let me ask you, what's your take on the way that Donald Trump has handled the North Korea, the man he called Rocket Man?
See the issue here. For me, I think that, in the manner of speaking, what Barack Obama's strategic patience couldn't achieve, Donald Trump's harassment
hardline
has done it. Imagine now that the North Koreans are offering to sit down and talk.
Sit down.
So, and the media is not focusing on that.
Yes.
They are focusing on the theatrics and on the drama and on the Twitter handle. I think we should focus on the key
And at the end of the day, Donald Trump may just be judged by the results he achieves.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you.
Thank you very much, Cyril Abako, Senior Researcher, TVC.